These magnificent student protests that we're seeing in the United States have now spread to France and other countries, and I'm going to show you all of them in just a bit in great detail. And the biggest flashpoint in Europe is France, without question. You know, I have always revered the French style of protest, and I've told you this. I had a French education, and I know exactly how the solidarity functions. And the students have come out. They've come out, for example, in Sciences Po. They've come out in the Sorbonne. These are very big universities in France. And it's so funny because they've sent the media into a frenzy. And the fact that it was just a few students on the first day, it makes them especially mad, right? So let me show you some of the clips. It's really the same treatment that you see in the US. I mean, what do you think happened? You got people setting up tents, and then, of course, they send in the riot police, right? Which is what you normally do for a bunch of students. You call the riot police. So these are the CRS, okay? They're the classic French riot police who have a reputation for just being the most brutal people imaginable. Yeah, I mean, this is what a democracy looks like, right? You drag people off to beat them in some undisclosed location. There's more of it. There's more of it, and people are building barricades here. For example, this is in Rennes. So this is at Sciences Po. They've started putting up, you know, dustbins and other things to stop the people from coming in. And look what it says: from Columbia, so Columbia University, from Columbia to Rennes, solidarity for Gaza. Don't you just love it? Don't you just love it? Amazing, amazing, really. This is what we have needed the entire time. So you can see here also, this is at the Sorbonne. That is a massive flag. I need one for my background, honestly. We've got to put one up here. There are many politicians who showed up to participate in these student protests, mostly and namely from La France Insoumise, which is the party of Jean-Luc Mélenchon. It's the leftist, the proper leftist party in France. And so they showed up to express solidarity with people, with Gaza, with the students. Look at this. This is at Sciences Po, but in Menton, and they basically closed this is what it says here. They've closed the entire university because people, they unfurled a Palestinian flag, right? Which is, again, this is what you do. This is proportionate, democratic, rational, sane thinking. You just shut down the entire university because some people held up a Palestine flag. You know, don't want the Zionists to feel unsafe, right? God forbid. Here, this is also in Rennes. You can see it up there. They're occupying one of the student houses and put up a giant Palestine flag and a Free Gaza banner. Here, the police, the CRS, the riot police, they went into the university, and you can see it's the same militarized response that you get in the United States. Okay, it's just an army of droids coming in. And make no mistake, you know, the French, they are supplying the Israelis with weapons. And regardless whether they have supplied them with weapons or not, they could have given the Israelis one screwdriver or a screw, and they would still be complicit. They could give them nothing and they would be complicit. Do you know why? Because they have abdicated their duties under the Genocide Convention to prevent and to punish genocide. It's the first sentence in the convention in Article 1. Very clear. There's nothing else in it. Prevent and punish those who commit genocide. That's it. And so they've done nothing, right? They have refused to cut this. They have an accord between the European Union and the Israeli occupation. France, for example, hasn't said a word about cutting this or withdrawing any in any form. And then, of course, these universities, they also have exchange programs, they have assets, they have investments, they have all kinds of different economic incentives and partnerships with the Israeli occupation that they could cut and meet the students' demands. And not only the students' demands, but what the law says, that you prevent and punish genocide. And they, of course, refuse. They refuse. And it's the same punishment that they are facing in the United States. They're now talking about suspending some of the students. And they're slowly getting there in the media, right? They're slowly getting there. here you can see this is one of the politicians from La France Insoumise, from the French leftist party. And I really want to play this clip to you and sort of translate as we go along, because he addresses the entire issue so well. This is the kind of stuff that we have to see in the media. This is how you respond to these jerk journalists and people who try to cut you off.
Je rappelle juste une chose. Plus de 40 000 morts à Gaza. Plus de 40 000 morts.
Right, so over 40,000 dead, 15,000 children in Gaza. And then, of course, they cut in, according to the Hamas figures, of course. This is his response.
Non, on arrête avec ça. Parce que les humanitaires qu'on reçoit...
Cut it out. Cut it out. He says that the people, the humanitarian aid workers that come back from Gaza, tell us that the figures are actually 2 to 3 times higher than what Hamas are saying. Okay? They say in real life, in reality, the death toll is 2 to 3 times higher than what Hamas are saying. Because they're not counting, for example, people who have injuries, people who are starving, people who are sick, who are suffering ailments and might die in a few weeks. They're not counting these people, right? So he's saying it's even worse.
C'est sans doute 2 à 3 fois plus élevé que les chiffres du Hamas. Que les chiffres du Hamas. Pourquoi? Parce qu'il y a toutes les morts indirectes, les gens qui ne sont plus soignés, les gens qui vont mourir dans quelques semaines parce que justement ils ne peuvent pas être pris en charge correctement. Et les chiffres du Hamas, puis toujours les chiffres du Hamas, aujourd'hui sont confirmés par l'ONU et même par les États-Unis eux-mêmes. Donc il faut qu'on arrête avec ça aussi, parce qu'à chaque fois dire ça, c'est une manière de minimiser la tragédie que vivent.
Right, and he's saying the United Nations, the United States, they all substantiate these figures themselves, right? They have the same estimates, and that we have to stop this nonsense with, oh, these are Hamas figures. It's from the Hamas-run health ministry, because it's a way of minimizing the tragedy, the massacre that is unfolding in Gaza. This is what every person needs to say. You don't start, arguing. You tell them, you tell the people that are listening that this is how it is.
Vivent les Gazaouis. Imaginons que ce soit pas 40 000, et que ce soit 20 000. Et alors, ce serait moins grave?
Thank you. He says, imagine if it weren't 40,000 dead, it's 20,000 dead. Is that any better? If you had, 10,000 children instead of 15,000 children dead, that's better. This is how you respond. This is what you say. And I've told you this stuff from the beginning, except we have different figures back then. It just got higher and higher. That doesn't change anything.
10 000. 10 000 enfants, même 10 000, même 2 000 enfants.
Yeah, even 2,000 children.
Vous imaginez ce qui se passe là-bas? Des enfants qui sont écrabouillés la nuit pendant qu'ils dorment. Des enfants qui sont...
Yeah, children that are, crushed while they're sleeping, amputated without anesthetic.
Amputés à vif, des enfants qui sont privés de famille. Il y a des milliers d'enfants.
Deprived of their families. Thousands of orphans.
Exactement la même chose.
En fauteuil roulant toute leur vie. Ce sont des vies entières brisées, des dizaines de milliers de vies entières brisées. Et on est en train de chipoter sur les chiffres. Et on est en train de chipoter sur le fait de savoir si c'est un génocide. On a le droit de dire le mot génocide.
Non.
And then this is the next point. He says, and now we're arguing about if we can call it a genocide or we can't call it a genocide. And I love. He says, you should be ashamed of yourselves.
Non.
Quelle honte.
On ne chipote pas.
D'abord, le mot de génocide, il est utilisé par la rapporteure spéciale des Nations Unies sur les territoires palestiniens. Il est repris aujourd'hui par d'autres membres de l'ONU. Amnesty International l'utilise. Et puis il y a des gens qui chipotent sur ce mot, qui disent mais comment on ose, on n'est pas sûr que ce soit un génocide. Eh bien, écoutez, vous l'appelez comme vous voulez. En tout cas, c'est une belle saloperie. Qui se passe sous nos yeux. Et l'inaction de notre pays est une honte.
Right, and he says you can call it whatever you want. You can call it whatever you want, but well, a saloperie is a salope is essentially a lady of the night with a promiscuous nature. So he's basically saying like it's a giant mess. It's a disgusting mess, and that shuts them up, of course. And he tells them that the inaction of the French government is shameful. It's an embarrassment to the whole world.
Absolu. Et alors le fait qu'on aille aujourd'hui s'en prendre à des étudiants, pardonnez-moi.
Right. And now he says, and now the fact you're attacking students, the students that are protesting.
Un peu agacé aujourd'hui de tout ce que j'entends. S'en prendre à des étudiants. Ah là, il faut reprendre en main Sciences Po. Ce sont des jeunes gens à la dérive, comme si c'était des imbéciles, comme si c'était des imbéciles manipulés par des partis politiques, alors que simplement ils sont l'honneur de notre pays.
And he says, right, now you're attacking students, saying that they don't know what they're talking about, that they're being manipulated by political parties, when in fact these students, they are the best, the brightest that we have to offer. They bring honor upon the French people.
Aujourd'hui, ces jeunes filles et ces jeunes hommes, parce qu'ils expriment ce que énormément de Françaises et de Français aujourd'hui ressentent, c'est-à-dire leur indignation totale et absolue.
They honor us because they express what many French citizens feel inside, the same indignation, the same anger, the same frustration. And that's why they are truly the best of us. And so this is how you this is an excellent interview. It's just a few minutes, but you see why, because he shows you how you're supposed to answer these hacks in the media, and then he also goes ultimately to the point of defending the students, which is the best, right? Now let me tell you what happened. This is the response from a French Jew who went on the radio, and I mean, you're not going to believe this, okay? So this is what he's saying here.
Pas tout seul. On est très nombreux en France, dans la diaspora, et surtout avec le ministère israélien de la diaspora, avec Avichai Shikli, de lancer en France et on espère un peu partout ailleurs, la première armée citoyenne.
Okay, so he's saying that with the cooperation of the Israeli government, they are launching in France the first diaspora Jew army, or citizen army. Now, I want you to ask yourself that do you think that this is a rational response to a bunch of students saying, hey, I don't want to be part of genocide? And moreover, what do you think would happen if a Muslim said this? That, you know, we're going to launch a diaspora citizen army of Muslims. I mean, they would just lock you up and throw you in jail and call you a terrorist. But if you're Jewish, you can do whatever you want. With the cooperation of the Israeli government. So it's not foreign influence. It's not meddling in French democracy. No, it's just, you know, faites comme vous voulez. Just do whatever you want. Blank check. Amazing, right? And it's like on the radio. It's like announced. You know, students protesting. Okay, citizen army backed by the Israeli government of French Jews. Wow. you have to love them, right? They just keep rolling with the hits. They just keep coming. There's something deeply wrong with Israelis. And when I show you their response in the counter protests, you are going to lose your mind, really. But let us look at the best that humanity has to offer. Let me show you people protesting in Tokyo. In Tokyo now, students protest against the Israeli genocide in Gaza. Citizen army. Sorry, I'm still laughing at that thing, but really, kudos to everybody who's taking part, because it's become a worldwide movement now, okay? And so you got people here, look, with the Palestinian flags and everything, protesting in Tokyo, in Japan, and now you've got people as well in Australia coming out and protesting for Gaza.
So behind me, both of my daughters are suspended off cranes with 10 other activists, and what we're demanding is an economic blockade of Israel and Zim ships banned from the port of Melbourne. Day 207, over 40,000 Palestinians, innocent Palestinians, have been murdered, and so we need to stop supplying and aiding and profiteering of this genocide.
I love it. Here you have students at the American University in Beirut in Lebanon also joining in. And it goes further than that. This is from Greece. Turkey. And there's also Tunisia. Now, obviously, you know, you would think that the Arab universities would have been the first, and they were, obviously. But the thing is that many of the people that are organizing, not all of them, but many of them, these student protests in the West, they also have Arabic backgrounds. So they're also doing their bit, even if they're outside the Arabic countries. And as a matter of fact, it's probably easier to do it because, ironically, for example, in Egypt or in Jordan or in Saudi Arabia, who do you think backs these regimes, these governments? It's the United States and Israel. And they're the least democratic. You can't open your mouth. You could go to prison very easily for doing a Palestinian demonstration. People want to, they just can't. And why? Because of the United States and Israel. It's so ironic, right? But it makes perfect sense. And so in any case, we come back to the point that this is amazing. It took time, but seeing perhaps the American universities was the spark that was needed for this to spread across the entire world. And this is amazing. And these students, whether they are in Turkey, whether they are in the United States, whether they are in Japan, they need to be protected, they need to be respected, they need to be championed, and they need to be celebrated, because what they are doing is what no one else could do. Until now, no other part of society was able to mobilize like this. And I'll just remind you that in France, in 1968, you had massive student protests. People just call them riots, actually, because they were beyond student protests. But it started as student protests. And in the end, it went from students to general strike of 10 million people in France. So don't think for 1 second that the protests don't achieve anything, or they might not achieve anything, or they're just a waste of time. Oh, no. These can be deadly for a government. They can be deadly for a government. Make no mistake. And they often start like this, and who knows where they take us. Again, YouTube demonetized my channel because I'm not allowed to say naughty things about Israel. Telling the truth is forbidden. So if you are able to donate a few dollars on PayPal or on a monthly basis on Patreon, please consider doing it, because it would really help me continue my journalism and support independent media. So I'd be very grateful. And the links are in the description and also in the chat. Thank you guys very much again for all your donations and all your kind comments. I appreciate it very much.